Ever wish you could just conjure up any image? Like anything you could possibly imagine. I'm talking whimsical creatures, photorealistic scenes, you name it.
It really feels like we're living in the future sometimes, doesn't it?
It really does. Turns out AI is making all of that possible. And in this deep dive, we're going to be taking a look at using ChatGPT to become an AI art creator.
That's right.
And the best part is, no prior art experience is needed.
Yeah, you don't have to be the next Picasso to create some really stunning visuals.
Not at all. You just need to know how to leverage the power of ChatGPT.
Exactly. It's like having a digital art director by your side.
Okay, so let's unpack that whole art director concept a bit. We've got a stack of sources here.
Yeah.
We've got a video from Dan Keefe, some interesting forum discussions. And from what I'm seeing, ChatGPT itself doesn't actually create the images. Is that right?
That's right. ChatGPT doesn't actually make the images themselves. It's more like the brains behind the operation. It crafts these very detailed text descriptions called prompts, which are then fed into separate AI art generators to do the heavy lifting, the actual image creation.
So it's like ChatGPT is writing the blueprint for the image,
Yeah.
and then the AI art generator is kind of like the construction crew bringing that blueprint to life.
Yeah, a perfect analogy. And just like a detailed blueprint will result in a better building, a detailed prompt will lead to a more accurate and compelling image.
That makes sense.
Mm.
And speaking of detail, I noticed in our pasted text source that they compared a simple prompt like mountain landscape at sunset to a
Right.
much longer, way more descriptive one. And wow, what a difference.
Yeah, that's where the real magic happens. It's like the difference between, ordering a sandwich and giving a chef a recipe with all the specific ingredients, cooking times, and plating instructions. You have so much more control when you get specific.
For sure.
Yeah.
So instead of just saying like mountain landscape at sunset, you might say like the type of mountains, the angle of the sun, the colors in the sky,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even some animals in the foreground.
Exactly. You can even control things like the art style, whether it's impressionist, surrealist, photorealistic, the mood, the lighting, even the camera angle. It's amazing how much control you actually have with the right prompt.
And so the more detailed that prompt is, the closer the final image
Mm-hmm.
is going to match what you had in your mind originally.
That's right.
So it's like actually having a conversation with the AI, kind of guiding it to create exactly what you have in mind.
That's right. And it's a conversation that you can continue to have even after the first draft, so to speak. In Dan Keefe's video, he was typing in commands like make him angrier while looking at a generated image of a character. And the AI adjusted the character's expression each time.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So even if the first image isn't perfect, you can keep refining the prompt and tweaking the results until you're happy.
Yeah, that iterative process is a big part of what makes AI art generation so powerful. It's not about one-shot perfection. It's about collaborating with the AI to really realize your creative vision.
This is all super exciting, and I'm sure our listeners are probably like, all right, how do I do this? But before we jump into specific tools and examples, let's talk about how this whole ChatGPT integration works.
Okay.
Is it like a direct connection to the art generators, or is there some behind-the-scenes tech wizardry going on?
Well, it kind of depends on the specific art generator that you're using.
Okay.
Some have direct integrations with ChatGPT, especially if you are using like the paid version.
Okay.
DIE, for instance, is seamlessly integrated into ChatGPT Plus.
So for DL, I could literally just tell ChatGPT what kind of image I want,
Yeah,
and it would handle creating the prompt and like sending it over to DL automatically.
exactly. It streamlines the whole process.
That's awesome.
But even if there isn't a direct integration,
Right.
ChatGPT can still be a game changer. You can just use it to craft the prompt and then copy and paste that prompt into your chosen art generator.
Gotcha. So it's like having a personal prompt engineer on call 24/7.
Exactly.
That's pretty sweet. And that brings us to the tools themselves. We've talked about DLE, which sounds amazing,
Yeah.
but it does require a paid subscription.
Yeah.
What about some free alternatives?
Well, there are some great options out there.
Okay, good.
In Dan Keefe's video, he showed using Bing Image Creator, which is completely free and surprisingly powerful.
Nice.
You give it a prompt, and it turns out some pretty impressive results.
So someone who is just starting out could kind of dip their toes in the AI art world without having to spend any money.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. What are some other popular generators out there?
You've got Stable Diffusion, which is open source and known for its flexibility.
Okay.
And then there's Midjourney, which is very popular in the art community and known for its distinctive dreamlike aesthetic. Each generator has its own strengths and weaknesses, so it's worth experimenting with a few to see which one best suits your style and your needs.
Now, you mentioned that each generator has its own kind of quirks, and I remember reading about ChatGPT's safety filters in one of the forum threads.
Yeah.
And apparently, these filters can sometimes put a damper on creative freedom.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Dan Kieft hilariously illustrated this in his video. He's trying to get his alien character to, and I quote, destroy the world. But ChatGPT kept pushing back, refusing to generate anything remotely violent or destructive.
So even though you have a lot of control over the prompt, there's still limits in place
Right.
to prevent the AI from generating harmful or inappropriate content.
Exactly. It's a necessary precaution, especially as AI image generation becomes more widespread.
Sure.
But it does highlight that ongoing discussion about balancing creative freedom with, responsible use of technology.
It reminds me of the conversation we had about deepfakes a few episodes back.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing technology,
Yeah.
but with the potential for misuse.
For sure.
But getting back to this creative control, there was this fascinating example on our pasted text source where someone used ChatGPT to craft a prompt for a YouTube thumbnail.
Oh, yes. The one about the tech podcast with the futuristic studio and city backdrop.
Yes.
What stood out to me was that back and forth process they used.
Okay.
They didn't just accept the first prompt that ChatGPT generated.
Right.
They kept refining it, adding more details, really working with ChatGPT to get the perfect visual.
So they wanted a specific type of lighting, a certain mood,
Mm-hmm.
and they even requested a particular camera angle.
Mm-hmm.
It really highlights how ChatGPT can be like a collaborative partner in the creative process.
Absolutely. And that's something that sometimes gets lost in the conversation about AI. It's not about replacing human creativity.
Right.
It's about augmenting it, providing new tools and possibilities.
It's like having a brainstorming buddy who can instantly visualize your ideas and help you iterate on them.
Yeah.
Speaking of iteration and refinement, are there any tips or tricks for crafting really effective prompts, things that our listener can keep in mind as they kind of embark on their own AI art journey?
Oh, absolutely. It's all about learning the nuances of prompt engineering.
Okay.
One key tip is to be as specific as possible, like we talked about with that mountain landscape example.
Right.
Instead of just saying, like, tree, specify the type of tree, oak, pine, willow, and describe its features. Like, is it tall and twisted? Are the leaves changing color?
So it's not just about what's in the image, but the qualities and characteristics of those elements.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get creative with your descriptions. You can use metaphors, similes, even snippets of poetry to kind of evoke a specific feeling or atmosphere.
So it's like painting with words.
Exactly.
I'm also curious about negative prompts. I've seen that term thrown around in some of our sources.
Yeah.
What are those all about?
Ah, yes. Negative prompts are basically a way to tell the AI what you don't want to see in the image. For instance, if you're generating a picture of a cat, but you don't want it to have a collar, you would add no collar to your prompt. It helps to refine the results and avoid those unwanted elements.
That's super helpful, especially when you're trying to get a very specific look for something. Like it's almost like you have veto power over certain aspects of the image.
Exactly. Another thing to keep in mind is the aspect ratio.
Right.
Do you want a square image for Instagram, a wide rectangle for a banner, something more vertical for like a phone wallpaper?
Right.
Specifying that aspect ratio in your prompt ensures that the AI generates an image that actually fits your intended use.
Oh, that's a good point. There's so many things to consider.
Yeah.
It really does sound like prompt engineering is a skill in itself.
Yeah.
But isn't it cool that we can have this level of control over AI-generated art?
It's truly remarkable. And the beauty of it is you don't need to be like a coding whiz or a tech expert to get started.
Right.
Anyone can learn these basic prompt engineering skills, and then they can start creating really amazing art.
And Dan Keefe's giraffe doodle turned AI masterpiece is proof of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredibly empowering, isn't it?
It really is. AI art generation is democratizing creativity, giving everyone access to these tools that were once only for professionals. It's a really exciting time to be an artist, even if you never thought of yourself as one before.
I love that. So the recap for our listener who's ready to jump into the world of AI art creation, it all starts with that detailed prompt. Be specific, use those vivid descriptions, and don't forget about negative prompts and aspect ratios. And then explore the different AI art generators out there. We talked about Dilly, Bing Image Creator, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney. Find one that speaks to you, that clicks with your style.
Exactly. And most importantly, have fun with it.
Yes.
Experiment, play around, and don't be afraid to push the boundaries of your imagination.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, dear listener, we've given you the tools, we've given you the knowledge. It's your turn to take the reins. What images will you bring to life with AI? What incredible worlds will you create with the power of language? The possibilities are literally endless. Go forth and create